Hi, welcome to the Faith and Wellness Sister. I'm so glad that you clicked on this video. I upload videos on a weekly basis based on my faith and wellness journey. I hope that you and I can journey together towards becoming the healthiest versions of ourselves, both mentally, spiritually, and physically. So this week is a fitness chat. Apart from when I initially spoke a little bit about how I believe faith and fitness intersect, I haven't spoken anything about fitness actually. So I will start with, I grew up in KwaZulu-Natal in a rural part called Opondweni, a little village there. I grew up with my grandmother and my great-grandmother. My great-grand did majority of the cooking, which consisted of grains, vegetables, and a little bit of meat here and there. But it was mainly vegetarian. And I loved it. I loved it all, and I'm so grateful for all of those really wholesome memories that I have of my childhood there. I moved up to Johannesburg when I was about 11 years old, and obviously the food changed a little bit. I was exposed to a little bit more, like more rich foods, more takeaways, more little luxuries that we wouldn't have had in KwaZulu-Natal, just due to the fact that we were in a rural community, and shops and big supermarkets were, a long distance away. So I moved up to Joburg and started school up here. And I think I just had access to a different variety of foods, which was awesome. I was a little bit on the heavier side as a kid, but nothing really crazy. And I think one thing about growing up in KZN that I loved, and I mean, there's so much that I will do a separate video on, just what growing up in a rural village was like for me, and just what an incredible experience that I think it was. And that's why I still take my children down to Opondweni as often as I can. My husband and I have a non-profit organization that runs down in KwaZulu-Natal, in that community that I grew up in. So it's a place that's very close to my heart, and I just want to be as rooted in that community as I can be for the rest of my life. Anyway, back here, I digress. So back to my fitness journey. Moved up here, I was 11 years old, happy with my body, happy with how I looked, because like I was saying, one thing about growing up in that community is that everybody embraced being unique, because everybody was so different. Different sizes, different shapes, different everything, and it was just lovely. But again, we were like all black, right? So moved up here, and a lot of things were different. But I found that city kids wanted so desperately to be the same, which I really thought was strange. Anyway, I finished my primary school here, and then I started my high school here. In primary school, I was involved in, like a moderate amount of extramural activities in terms of sports. And then when I started high school, I actually became even more involved. So in primary school, I did swimming. I think I did hockey. I did netball. I was terrible at it. I don't know how they managed to keep me in a team for that long. But when I started high school, I actually gave up on my netball dream, and I focused more on hockey, swimming, and water polo. And I loved it, but I tried my hand at just about every sport. And I think because in KwaZulu-Natal, in the school that I grew up in, you were either a netball player or you were not. And unless you were really, really good at it, there was really nothing else for you. So I got to doing, whatever I had access to when I moved up to Joburg, which was a lot more than what I had access to when I was in KwaZulu-Natal. And I loved it. And then I started running. At some point in my high school years, I started running, and I got my mother into running, and that just became our obsession. We loved to run, okay? I think my mother and I used to run every morning. We used to get up early and go for a jog, and sometimes I used to go for running even in the afternoons. I got some of my friends to start running with me. I just loved it. But I quickly realized that what I really loved about running was the mental clarity that it gave me, and how I was able to manage my moods through running. But I just, yeah, like I loved how I felt after a good run. And yeah, so I was running for many years. My mother and I did many half marathons. We did many little runs in the community, and we loved it. We both loved it, and in fact we still run now. Yeah, so anyway, I fell pregnant with my daughter when I was 22. Obviously, I went through all the body changes that a body goes through when you have a baby, but I was so young that I honestly didn't feel any impact after I'd given birth to my daughter. I think I snapped right back to the weight that I had been previously. But I started to notice that I was like bigger than my mother. My mother is such a small woman, and if I can find some pictures of my mother and I will post, because I'll share them on this video, because my mother is such a small woman, and I think it felt weird like having a mother that's smaller than me. And I think one day my mother weighed herself, and I think she was saying that she had put on weight, but I think that at that time she actually weighed less than what I weighed, and I'd always been fairly comfortable with my weight. So that was like a little bit of a, oh, what, like, what, you think you're heavy, but I weigh more than that, and I think I'm fine. And then I think when I started working in the corporate world, girls love to speak about their weight, and then I think I also started to kind of think, oh, maybe I do need to lose weight, maybe not, like maybe I'm not the right weight for my height or whatever it was. And so I think I became a little bit more conscious, but I didn't actively do anything to try and change my weight. And then I think I may have joined the gym when I was about 25, 26. I didn't really regularly attend, but I was, I had a gym membership and I would go every now and then. I still did, a moderate amount of running. And even when I did go to gym, I just did like, walking on the treadmill, quite a stairmaster, just a decent amount, like a high amounts of cardio. And then the real game changer, or when I really became very focused on my weight, was when I was about 33 and I had my son. We went on a trip to Thailand, and when we came back, we needed to get a helper for someone to assist with looking after my son while I went to work, because I also needed to return to work. And the lady that we got, she was amazing. The young lady we got was just such a phenomenal girl, and she was also such a phenomenal cook. And she would make the most delicious meals, and I think I just loved her cooking, just such wholesome comfort food, which was very different to how I cooked or prepared food, because as a busy mom, I really would throw everything into the oven. So I would do a lot of roast vegetables, roast chicken. I would do vegetable lasagnas. It was a lot of cooking in the oven, which didn't really require a lot of oil, and just really not very rich foods. That's what I was used to, and I think that's what I enjoyed. But her style of cooking was different to mine, and it was very rich and very indulgent. And I remember going to the doctor for a checkup, I think about a year after returning to work, and after she'd started helping us. And the doctor just looked at me, and they said I was very overweight. And if I'm not mistaken, they used the words obese or nearing obesity. I was only 10 kilograms heavier than a weight that I remembered being when I was in school, and I was only about 7 kilograms heavier than what I think I was when I initially went for a checkup when I was pregnant with my son. So I really didn't think that it warranted being called, almost obese or nearing obesity. So that's the logical side of my brain, right? Like that knew that there's no ways I was, obese or nearing obesity. I'm not going to share what the number was, but it really stuck with me and it really devastated me. And I remember getting home that evening and just thinking, oh my goodness, I'm like obese. What do people do to lose weight? Because obviously obesity comes with its own sets of challenges, and it's not a healthy place to be. And I remember from that very next day, I committed myself to running every single day, and I just did it. I started running every day. I would cut out carbs as often as I could or avoid carbs. But what I noticed starting to happen was that I wouldn't eat carbs the entire week. So I wouldn't eat carbs Monday through Friday. And then on Friday evenings, right after Sunday, I would just binge on carbs. I would eat an excessive amount of junk food, or things that I would deem unhealthy, like bread or whatever it was. And that was terrible. I remember that cycle going on for at least 3 years, where I was really, really just in such an unhealthy place with food, in such an unhealthy place with my body. And it saddens me because there was really nothing wrong with my body, and it deserved to be loved, and it's the temple of God. And I think I hadn't actually, even when I was indulging in the foods that the helper would make, I don't think that I was like a glutton or anything like that. But I think having that doctor say that just really, really left such an impact on me, and left me in such a place of just really, really not a healthy place with food. And I do hope that doctors will just be mindful of how they share news like that with women especially. Anyway, so like most women, I was just, I was doing a lot of cardio. I was hardly doing any strength training. I was in a cycle of really unhealthy eating habits where I wasn't getting enough protein. I wasn't getting enough of anything actually. And then I would have really crazy episodes of eating everything in sight, which couldn't have been great for my gut, but it really was not great for me mentally, because what was happening was I was promising myself every Monday that I was going to eat differently, I was going to eat better, I was going to eat clean. And then when I relapsed, it would make me think I can't do it. It would make me think I can't do hard things, which I know is untrue, right? Because I was running 7 days a week. So then it made me think maybe I have a problem with food, which I also know I didn't. But if you tell yourself you can't have anything, and that goes for everything in life. If you tell yourself you can't have this thing, that's the only thing that you're going to want. So just that freedom to say you can have everything, but everything in moderation, right? And then that desire to have it actually just kind of starts to die down. So I was doing that, and then I joined the gym again. My husband and I joined the gym, I think in 2018. So it would have been around that time we joined the gym, and I would go every single morning, and guess what I would do there? Cardio. So I was a cardio bunny, and I would get there, I would be on the treadmill for like 45 minutes, which was insane. And then I would do like a little bit of strength training or abs training after that. And that was my routine most mornings, which is so sad because then I saw no results. I was going to the gym for about 2 years. There was no improvement in my body. There was no improvement in my energy levels. And it was really, really terrible. I was still getting my, that runner's high, which I loved. I was getting that mental clarity, but I needed more than that. I wanted to feel stronger. I wanted to have a more toned body. And my husband would be like, in order to get that, you need strength training. And I just didn't get it. I didn't want to be bulky. I didn't want to have big shoulders and big legs and big quads. And I really didn't want that. I didn't find that appealing at all. Anyway, so I just avoided strength training altogether. Anyway, and I think after like 2 years of not seeing any results, so then 2020 happened, and I'm so grateful for 2020 because then I started going onto YouTube to look for workouts, right? And I remember I found MadFit, and I followed some of her workouts to begin with, and a lot of her workouts back then didn't have a lot of weight. So it was strength training. excuse me, but a lot of it was actually body weight, which was great for me because I really didn't have much experience lifting weights. So I did a lot of body weight exercises. So that's what I would do in the mornings, and then after that I would go for a bit of a run or vice versa, and I really enjoyed it. But the more I did, the more I was like, I actually want to feel more challenged. And then I started using some of the weights that my husband had gotten in 2020 because he'd gotten a few weights for himself. And so I started using some of those. And then I actually just started looking up videos on how to tone up my body and yeah. And I think I might have even like been Googling how to lose weight. And then I found a whole lot of girls and women were talking about strength training and how it was, so good for you. And I thought, but none of these women look bulky. None of them look like they have, an excessive amount of muscle. So how do they do that? Anyway, I followed a few people on YouTube, and I then started following Caroline Gervin. She used to upload videos on, workout with me kind of videos. And then I started working out with her all the time. And within 3 months, I started to notice a difference in my body. I started to notice, that I was feeling stronger. And I started to notice muscle definition in my thighs, started noticing muscle definition in my arms. Although I didn't really want to have very masculine arms, because I'd noticed when I did water polo at school that my shoulders and my arms were becoming big, and I didn't really want that. But anyway, it goes without saying, my arms did get a little bit more toned, and I was fine with it. But I loved the feeling of strong. I loved feeling strong, and I liked being able to lift heavier. I started to lift a little bit heavier all the time, and just really challenging myself. I loved how I felt, but I also loved that with strength training, I wasn't getting those crazy that crazy hunger that I used to get with excessive running. So I was getting the energy bursts, which I loved, that I used to get with running, but without that insatiable hunger that you get when you run a lot, or when you do a lot of cardio. So, and then I just fell in love with strength training. I really, really loved it. I love just that muscle, that mind to muscle connection when you are doing a deadlift, or you're doing a chest press. I absolutely love it. It just gives me such a high. So yeah, and so I then just incorporated strength training into my workouts and started doing strength training about 3 to 4 times a week, and then I would run, every now and then, maybe twice a week, and I've kind of, more or less stuck to that for the last 3 years, and I love it, and I'm never looking back. I'm always going to do strength training, and that's another thing I think with strength training is that it is so good for your body. But it is something that I'm doing for myself for the long run, right? Because I feel like with good muscle currency, you really are, you have a higher chance of just aging better. So I'm really, really grateful that I eventually listened to my husband and, found those YouTube videos and really just invested in strength training. But I mean, running will always be a part of my life because I love it. I love how I feel when I run. I love how it just does so much for my mental well-being. And and I'm so grateful for that. And then in terms of nutrition wise, I haven't really changed a lot in my eating routine. So what I do is I try and eat fruit, vegetables, grains. But the biggest change has been that I try and increase the protein intake. I eat everything. I don't exclude any food groups. I eat the carbs, whatever it is, whatever I need, because what I really hate, and you'll know this if you've ever gone on a strict diet or if you've ever put yourself on a restrictive diet, that if you feel like you can't have something, it's going to consume your mind. So I'm so grateful that I don't have to spend time thinking about how I'm going to get the same satisfaction I would from a sandwich or a slice of toast from something else. If I feel like a slice of toast, that's what I'm going to have. If I feel like a slice of cake, that's what I'm going to have. But it is, yeah, it's everything in moderation. But I think also the Bible does teach us not to be gluttons. So everything in moderation. Have a little bit of this, have a little bit of that, but don't overdo anything. But also don't restrict yourself ever, because restriction is actually what leads to binge eating. It's what leads to just unhealthy relationship with food, which none of us want, but also none of us want to model that for our children. And I'm so aware of that, and I'm grateful that I am where I am on my health and wellness journey. Hopefully I'll find some pictures to post for you guys of what I look like, some decent pictures. But yeah, I really hope that this video just kind of lets you know that you're not alone in your health journey, and it is a journey. It's not linear. It's got ups and downs, and that's okay. We just need to be growing together and doing better together. And I will, like I said, share more details on what I actually, what a day of eating might look like for me. I will share what a day of a workout might look like for me. But thank you so much for joining me, and I hope that this inspired you to just go after whatever it is that you're looking for when it comes to your health and wellness. Be blessed.